Lock on those cartridges and fasten your seatbelts. It's part 2 of our Sonic 3 and Knuckles revisit. Enjoy.
And so we are going to either continue the same game or hop over to a new one as we moved into the Sonic and Knuckles zones.
Yeah, full disclosure, everyone, we had a separate recording between two of these between these two parts because we wanted to make this one big recording, but due to time constraints, we had to split it into. That's probably a bit familiar, but here we are on Sonic and Knuckles.
3D Sonic and Knuckles landed on that little chunk of rock, just hanging out. Knuckles is shaking his fist in a weird way at us.
Yeah, but this was the coolest when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah,
no, 100%.
Because it was the first one like I mentioned, it's the first one I played out of Sonic 3 and Knuckles with Sonic and Knuckles, so I was like, oh man, this is the badass! And it was. And it is, and it remains as such. I don't care what any of the kids say. I love this.
My favorite part is playing the vanilla title. Is the little tiny little chibi Sonic and Knuckles on the character select on the title screen.
Yeah.
And Sonic has a giant hand the size of his body, just wagging his little finger at you.
So speaking of the title screen of that, I want to say I did not make this up in my own head, but I feel like I overheard somewhere, either like at school or on the internet or something, that when you're like, you know how on that title screen, if you like, you're choosing Sonic and Knuckles, you go really fast and, you know, they just turn into a purple blur. Mm-hmm. Somebody somewhere said like, oh, that's a secret character, man. It's another character that you can unlock.
Like Witchina the Starline, or...
That's how you unlock Rain, the purple one.
Toasty.
In my experience of childhood, like, playground rumors, it was probably made the fuck up. But cool nonetheless. You know, like Sonic and Tails in Melee. Well, actually, that was in magazines, so I don't know.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was April Fool's and like a Electronic Gaming
EGM.
Monthly. Yeah. Man, and I still tried to do that shit.
Oh, trust me, we will have a long discussion about that whenever we cover Sonic and Smash Brothers.
Oh, we should, yes.
We got to stay on topic.
Yeah. Sonic and Knuckles.
Mushroom Valley Zone? Nope.
It's gonna be. It was gonna be, but then it became Mushroom Hill, because we've got to have a hill zone in the Sonic game.
We have branding.
That's true. But mushrooms, like the Mario has.
But bigger.
These are different, though. These look
true.
These look tastier, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, they do.
If we're comparing Mario Brothers 1 mushrooms to these, yeah, I would chop these up and put them in a stew or a curry, but...
Just ask Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the inspiration for the Mushroom Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Easily.
Yes.
Here it is. It's Mushroom Hill Zone. Either you get here, like, either you just stop dead, so you start right here, or you get, like, airlifted in by Tails if you're playing a Sonic and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Either way. Oh, right, so if you are playing it on Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you get that wonderful little part that introduces you to the new Super Rings, where you sneak up on Knuckles, who is like in his little hideout lair or something, and he pokes his head around the corner.
It's so funny. It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Like, in hindsight, now I'm like... Oh, Knuckles, you gotta be a little more careful than that, man. Come on.
That's not a specialty.
Then you go in there, and I think I have already talked about if you're little child me and didn't understand, you're like, oh, wow, I managed to collect the Chaos Emeralds. Hey, wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Thank the sniper got me again.
Ah!
If you're playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles and you have all the emeralds, they sort of like Dragon Ball out of you, and then they shoot off into these little, I don't know, pedestals, and they and then they're big grey ones. and underneath the Master Emerald in the Hidden Palace Zone, which you haven't seen yet if you haven't played it all the way through, and that's how you get the Super Emeralds. It's really cool, actually.
Oh, it's amazing. Like, the fact it uses that particular, like, giant laser explosion sound for all of them, like, yes, it's so cinematically cool.
And it really drives home like how much more cinematic this game is, because like every time you beat a special stage, it's not just, you know, Sonic got a Chaos Emerald or whatever. It's, you know, Sonic got through the stage and then it like fades in, pans down to the Emerald and Hidden Palace, gets like little lights coming from the side as it powers up.
Yeah,
just really making it an event.
Yep. But this is where you're introduced to an entirely separate set of these Blue Sphere stages. And I think we talked about some of these are, ooh, man, they're kind of mean, but completely doable with practice. And in fact, in Mushroom Hill, there are, I believe, 8 total giant rings. So you can absolutely get through this first zone with all of the Super Emeralds if you got the skills to pay the bills.
I don't know where I've played this game a lot. I don't know where they all are. Should probably bring up a map next time. I want to try and actually find them all, but
yep, they're out there. I still have to use a map, and then I go, oh yeah, I knew that. It's usually you go up here, and then the second loop-de-loop, blah, blah, blah. But I think I've already said my memory. I cannot store the entire map in my brain anymore, but. Can I say something controversial? In the first part, I said Sonic Sprite. Can I say I think they're cool. I just don't really care about hyperforms. I get why they're here. They're like the ultimate reward, and like there's an extra super thing. But I've never been one of those Sonic fans that's like, they gotta bring it back, man. What are they doing, Sega? This is what we want. I feel like the opportunity to do it, and if I recall correctly, this was on Ian Flynn's Bumblecast, is he pitched in the finale of the final boss in Frontiers, and they said, "No, we're not going to do that." And he said, "Okay,
they don't
want
to have like DBZ power creep, as I recall. Was the reason?
No, so they did like Super Sonic 2 or whatever it's called, whatever the unofficial name is for. Sorry, spoilers for when we talk about Frontiers again. But,
yes, an ascended super form instead of bringing hyperforms back. I
understand what you're saying there, Jeremy.
They're objectively cool, though. Like, I'm not saying they aren't cool.
I understand what you're saying, but Jeremy, you have to understand something. For me, and for people like me, like the Dave Ballmers of the world, the Super Emeralds and Hypersonic was the coolest shit ever happening in our favourite Sonic game. And every time they disregard something from our favourite Sonic game, we get very upset, because this was the apex of what made Sonic to us. Outside of Sonic the Comic, obviously. But you see, so that's why we're just like, well, it'd be nice if they brought it back just once. Mm-hmm. But I can understand, it's not really necessary, because now Super Sonic is just it. Super Sonic is like, as of Sonic Adventure, like Super Sonic is like the manifestation of hopes and dreams that Sonic represents when he rises up and becomes this golden star that takes on the whatever ancient evil god has been revived this time.
It's the embodiment of what the Chaos Emeralds are now, which is it's a phrase that keeps getting brought up even in Frontiers, I believe. Sonic is explaining to Sage, like, the Chaos Emeralds are powerful because they convert your hopes and dreams or thoughts into physical power. And Super Sonic, especially in Sonic Adventure, what a great example, is the embodiment of everyone's wishes for a better future. You know, same in Sonic Adventure 2. It ties all back into, not only does Knuckles use the same, the Master Emerald, the same speech Tikal does, but like, Sonic and Shadow are the embodiment of everyone's wishes and hopes that Maria ultimately wanted Shadow to. But so, yes, all that rambling to say that, like, yeah, Super Sonic basically in modern Sonic, like, is that ultimate pinnacle of the power of the Chaos Emeralds. But yeah, Hypersonic was just really fucking cool, and an excuse to do 7 more of these horrendously hard stages. And now he's got like a cool little pseudo homing attack, clear the screen. Maybe not good for photosensitive viewers because he sure is flashing a lot. But yes, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, so he's only really necessary for this game. I will admit that. Like, the only reason they brought him in was to give you a reason to get Supersonic again. Otherwise, it's just like, well, I had him already. No, you get the ultimate prize. So that's what his purpose serves. I like when cool things get cooler, and you can't keep doing that like over and over again. I get that, but I like when cool things get a better version that's even cooler. That's just where I stand on it, and it's from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, so I like it. Anyway, Mushroom Hill Zone, I suppose we should talk about.
I admit, when I was a kid, it took me way too long to figure out how those friggin' pulleys worked.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Tails doesn't help very much. He kind of screws up the timing. You little pixel brain.
Just like the those weird like floating platforms from Carnival Night.
Yep. His little half-second delay.
I was going to say, we've done Carnival Night, and we didn't really spend that much time talking about
My brain is not okay today.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even mention that stupid barrel because, hey, I never had a problem with that. Get good, nerds.
I think we did, but we're just at a point where we're just like, naturally, you all know you should be good at this point.
Hi, I'm Nerds, and I did not get good until I was an adult.
No, I know I've said before, but it wasn't until I voiced Sonic in that short about the barrel that I was like, wait, people had trouble with the barrel?
That's how I learned about it, I think. I think I learned about it from that short.
Yeah, because I could just hear Jeremy in the back of my brain going, up and down! What the fuck?
That's a good short. It's one of my favorites.
But yeah, lots of really cool stuff. Speaking of Mario things, there's a mole that pops out and chucks things at you.
Oh, he's got such a great little design. I love his little helmet.
Yeah, that's what makes me think of Monty Mole. Like, did Monty Mole have a helmet, or am I just like projecting the badnik onto Monty Mole? I probably am.
You're mixing it with Charge and Chuck.
You know what? Yeah, and possibly Hammer Brothers.
Yeah, no, the Mad Mole is his own
original character.
Beast.
Sorry, you were saying, Jake.
Oh, I was just gonna say in Sonic 2 we had the chicken chucking stuff at you, and now we have a mole chucking stuff at you. So we have a short legacy of animals that specifically pop out of holes and throw things at you and then hide away.
Yep. Although
Indeed we do.
There's a chicken in this one too. He's just blowing on you. He's blowing on you. Air.
Yeah, he's modeled after, what do they call those things? God.
A weather vane?
A weather vane?
Yeah.
A weather vane, that's the fella. Yeah. I haven't thought about those in a long time. You think I would? I live in the UK where we have 100 of them on top of every spire in every town centre. But yes, Cluckoid. Is that his name?
I forgot its name is Cluckoid. That sounds like some kind of insult.
So many chicken characters have Cluck in the name in the Sonic franchise. Because it says here, you may be, in the wiki article, the fan wiki article, you may be looking for Cluck, Cluck Sat AM, Cluckbird, or Clucker.
or Clucky.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, these days. But we know what his actual name was.
Yeah.
And we know what he got up to. On his special chair.
Mushroom Hill, very good level. I actually really like. Okay, I guess it never really occurred to me. Yeah, this is kind of supposed to be a version of Green Hill, and it's a really good one. It's such a good. Again, if you're just playing like Sonic and Knuckles on its own, it's a good introduction to like how sprawling and vertical some of these levels can get. Mm-hmm. And especially if you're playing through Knuckles, like this is the first zone, but he has several completely different areas, and it's really pretty too. Like the fact that you run through it and the palette changes twice. I guess you're going from
it's like the season changes is how I interpret it.
Yeah.
Which is
I guess
wild.
you're going from summer to fall and then to winter.
That bit always throws me off. It's because like in Act 2 you've got like the blue mushrooms as well and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I love those little palette changes. I don't know why. It just everything freshens up.
It's I really like the both bosses in these because they're kind of the epitome of, we were kind of talking before. I always forget his name is Hey Ho. That's so funny.
I never knew that. That's awesome.
I like how he looks like a dude, and also I like his I guess his second cousin in Sonic Mania, the Oil Ocean boss, wearing the coveralls. These bosses are, I wouldn't say difficult at all, but they're so pretty looking. Like the Hey Ho is doing a cool like pseudo 3D thing by hitting the trees and chopping the big pieces at you. And then the Eggman boss is a chase, and they're doing that cool like I guess, is that technically parallax or just some sprite tricks? Yeah, some sprite tricks to like go through these tree trunks and these spiky things, and not very difficult at all.
It seems like the remnant of the Sonic 3D project that this was going to be.
Yeah,
like these little moments like this where they actually created stuff in 3D. Because I'm pretty sure they would have created at least some of these things in 3D.
Mm-hmm. And I like the Eggman starts like the thing is buried, and what is he broadcasting? Is he?
He's got a little satellite poking out that's doing something.
He's doing some kind of recon.
Maybe trying to like send some kind of signal to the Death Egg.
Oh, maybe.
And like, I wonder even like, oh, you interrupted him, and so he's just like, I gotta get out of here. So he doesn't have.
He's broadcasting seasonal depression.
Yeah. He's taking some more subterfuge focused in this half of the big game.
Apparently, it's a satellite that is affecting the weather, and that's why the palette changes in Mushroom Hill.
Wow!
According to the Japanese manual.
God, the Japanese manuals always know way more than the rest of us. I suppose that's why it's called Egg Scrambler. It's scrambling something. Scramble eggs like a bird's egg. Anyway, sorry, we try not to keep doing those, but.
That one was not on me.
I think we touched upon it. I did take a look at the American manual, and like, you know, not to hash anything, you know, a 30-year-old localization out, but yes, it is basically has zero of the story compared to the Japanese manual, which I know is like, oh, you know, one day Sonic had a dream and found a ring with runes inscribed, and like, man, y'all just didn't carry any of that over. Come on, man. But it is
none
what
of this
it
stuff
is.
about how the floating island, you know, some kind of a beast destroyed the local civilization and other stuff that was totally just secretly setting up for Sonic Adventure, and we didn't even know it.
Yeah. A happy coincidence that be. Yeah, Mushroom Hill, good. Now, screw it. It's time for my possibly favorite classic zone of all time.
Yeah, floating overhead. It's the Flying Battery.
And it's as released order in Sonic and Knuckles. Flying Battery, just, I love everything about it. It's so cool. Like that, the music, the Mushroom Hill music is really good. I like all the big bassy sounds and percussion, and even what is obviously supposed to be like a rockin' guitar solo in the background, and then you get to Flying Battery, and like this is straight up like heavy metal music.
Now, we know Jun Senoway was involved in the soundtrack, but, you know, when you think of, like, heavy metal music with Sonic, you wonder a little bit, because I know at this point they were relying on the quote-unquote Sega sound team a bit more because of the incidents involving the music in the first part of the game. This is one of those ones where I'm like, I would love a Sonic Generation-style remix of Flying Battery.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, we did get two very good remixes in Sonic Mania.
Yes.
That's true. Well, yep, T-Lopes, what can you expect? Oh,
yep.
man.
That's true.
It is funny, though, that we haven't, I mean, Sonic Mania, yes, but that we don't see a lot of revisits to, like, more Sonic and Knuckles stages. Like, using the Sonic Symphony, it seems like most Sonic and Knuckles music is like quote unquote safe, but I don't know. They usually play it real safe and just stick with some of the little jingles and Sky Sanctuary. Like, yep. Whoever did Sky Sanctuary must still be at Sega and be like, I sign over my firstborn son to Sega.
Well, we know, like, nothing else in Sonic and Knuckles really got changed in the Origins release. Except for they don't use the main theme song at the title screen, like, even though Sonic 3 and Knuckles do.
Yeah.
But then again, they use the Invincibility theme, which uses the same melody, so I don't know. I think they just made some kind of arbitrary choices with the soundtrack. Either way, Flying Battery is still there, and it's still great, and I love it.
It's really good.
We talked about it a bit in Sonic Mania, I think, like, talking about how it's a better version of Wing Fortress, very much so, and also keeps all of Robotnik's junk, apparently. like the egg capsules and stuff.
Yeah. I love all of the like little surprises. Like, yeah, you hit you're like, what's that doing here? And I can't remember. I think it is the first one you come across does release badniks, but then some of the ones later, like, oh, a couple of rings, and it's just like, it keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
And I remember being so surprised as a kid getting to one of the outside sections, and then you get all the way to the right, and you're like, well, where do I go? And then here come these goofy little bombs on parachutes, and you just have to wait about 10 seconds, like, oh, watch out. There you go. He's blowing up his own place. That's our Eggman.
This has some of the most interesting to get to super rings, by the way. You have to really look for them. But if you see a pair of a set of spikes on top of a tube in like the floor, you just push those spikes out of the way and drop down, and that will get you to numerous super rings. That happens a few times. I always thought that was cool.
I think there's also the one where there's not a reason for you to stop at a certain place, but I think it's Act 1, and if you stop at a certain place for about 3 or 4 seconds, you'll see some of those half platforms come out of the wall. And you're like,
those guys, yeah.
I better jump up there. But yeah, if you're just speeding through, you're not going to see them. You got to know to stay and wait for just a second. The mini boss in this first act is so funny. Again, not too hard once you figure out what you're supposed to do, but it's the first of a couple of bosses where you're like, okay, this guy is going to take himself out.
Yeah, I love those bosses.
I remember as a kid, like it stumped me for a little while, and then I think I stood on his head for head, quote unquote, for too long, and I realized it hit me, but I saw him flash after he got hurt, after he hit himself, and I was like, oh, that's how you do it. It's such a creative mini boss, like especially for the time, and I think it also has like the benefit of the foreshadowing through the level, like what we said, like there was capsules that either had enemies or rings in it, so it's like, oh, okay, so there's different things happening here.
I really like to think Eggman thought he was onto something by putting this. I think, yes, as Luke has linked, his official name is Gapsule. Capsule with a G. But putting this together, but like maybe rather quickly, or again, just didn't think it through. Like, he loves releasing my little animal capsules so much, does he? Well, he'll never see this coming. And then just didn't think about the rest of the implications. It's almost like a comedy thing to me. Like, I don't know. It makes me think of the music hater robot from Adventures of Sonic, and like how he kind of defeats him in a similar way of overloading it. But yeah, like if this thing could speak, it would be with that exact voice. Oh, I'm gonna get you, Sonic. I'm gonna hit you with my big spiky hands.
No more standing on my head.
Now, Doctor, I totally get what you're going for with the capsules that have badniks in them. It's a great trick, but why'd you put rings in some of them? He needs a break sometimes. I feel for the little blue rat.
I have to store them somewhere.
I don't know where he puts him, the little blue pervert. But yeah, Act 2, I think has a lot more of the big like vertical sections that you can jump. You know, you go up and down and through there, and you got the. I'm just thinking about the little spider that transports you that just has a mean smiley face on it.
It's just like a little. It's like the grabbers from Sonic 2, but you need to have them grab you. They don't actually hurt you.
I guess they're there to help you, but just look like a little kid drew a frowny face on a tube, a hot dog with legs. Oh man. But this I really like the this is the one this boss has a weird first phase, doesn't it, with the big laser where you just have to wait for it to burn itself out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Wing Fortress boss, but with no actual interactivity other than avoid it, don't die.
Yeah, I think last time I was playing it, I had my hyper mode and was like, oh, I didn't know you could hit this, and it just doesn't do anything. You can hit it a bajillion times and it won't break until I think it does like 10 blasts, and It's just really cool. Then you get to chase Robotnik again from his little control panel, and you get a cool, like, whoops, things are shifting and breaking apart. Don't get squished.
What happened exactly? Like, the ground starts coming up under you, but other parts start falling down. Is he, like, crashing the flying battery? Is he, like, he's just like, plan B!
I wonder if it's like breaking apart or maybe transforming in like a proto egg carrier type way, because there's something left for you to stand on when you get to the boss, which is the egg hanger, which it sure does.
It certainly does. How do you describe this guy? It's like he's got little clamps that sort of connect to the ground, and he has on stretchy arms. And he has a little flamethrower at the top, and a bespoke sprite that only shows up during this part because they need to have him move side to side.
Yep. In fact, it's so bespoke that they use it for Knuckles' playthrough, even though it's not supposed to be there, which did get fixed eventually in re-releases.
Not only that, they actually fixed it by having an in-between sprite where he's in the middle.
Yeah.
Apparently that was going to be in there in the game. I guess they just never programmed it in, so now he can look in all directions.
I do love the sprite. It's very funny. It's just, oh, hey, we've never seen little Robotnik Eggman do that. He's looking up.
Things are looking up for old Eggy over here.
Flamethrower.
But you still beat him, and then you bail out.
And you go down to ice caps. No, just kidding.
No, not quite.
Land smack dab in some sand.
Into the desert of Nevada.
I remember thinking during my replay that I was going to come into here and say, you know what? All of the zones in Sonic 3 and Knuckles are really solid. And then I did, it's the Arrested Development a few days earlier. I don't care for Sandopolis.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's just... it might even be residual, like, kid me memories of always getting stuck in at least Act 2.
Oh no, adult me still thinks it's frustrating and stupid even without kid memories.
It's just a little too much maze sections, especially when the sand's coming up.
Yeah, it gets very stressful.
It's a very pretty level, I'll say that. The shimmer...
Narratively, it looks like, from a narrative and from an aesthetic standpoint and, like, music standpoint, it's all very good. It's just a bit unpleasant to play sometimes.
Yeah. The I don't think I really paid attention to how cool the heat sheen, like the heat wave, like it's so hot that the background is distorted. I don't think I've ever paid that close attention to that, but I was just like, whoa, what a cool effect. Dang.
Yeah. It's a great feature.
The inside of the pyramid in Act 2 is also very pretty and well designed, with some, confusing hieroglyphics that would be echoed in the pyramid base in Sonic Adventure 2. Like, do these mean anything? No, probably not.
Your guess is as good as mine.
But yeah, Act 1 is outside. It's outside, inside. You know what? Like, I do like the spectacle of all this, because once you get through the level, and it is a bit of a pain, and to be honest, I don't really like desert levels in games very much. I don't know what it is; they just annoy me. But once you get to the part where the pyramid rises and the sand is like descending down, and I don't know, it's a really cool, like, it's a cool cinematic moment, if nothing else, which you can say for a lot of things in Sonic games, but. Yeah. And then there's the Guardian. Well, that's not Knuckles. That's the mini boss for this one. Big stone dude.
Okay, looking at this guy, I need to zoom in on this screenshot. Looking at this guy, because what I see is on the top of him, those are his eyes, and then the big part below is his scary mouth. But I don't think that's true.
Yeah, no, I'm reading the lower part as like eyes and like a mono eye visor, and then with unexplained holes above.
That's how I see it, but I can't help but also see like an orc face as well, like with the eye, the big gaping nostril, and the big mouth.
I was just saying, like, as a child, that's what I always saw was, he's like going like, but if you look at the big circle is eyes, and then the bottom, he's almost got like a Shredder, almost like Mortal Kombat ninja thing going on.
That's cooler. That's what it should be.
Yeah, and then yes, looking at like how he was portrayed in Sonic the Comic, and then even the Golem boss in Sonic Adventure 2, which again is obviously a takeoff of this. It's like, oh, okay, he's got like a cool man face.
Looks a little Megatron. Looks a little Megatron actually. Now I look at him.
Yeah, or like Stone Man from Mega Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I see is just the pyramid boss from Star Fox, the first part of Venom.
Oh yeah, that's another one. This boss is, again, this is another boss where it's like, whoa, this ain't your mama's Sonic boss. You gotta push him into the, well, you don't even have to push him, because I think as a kid, I didn't realize you could hit him, and I would just go stand right in front of the quicksand and just let his dumbass jump in.
Yep. I did that too.
But either way, this one usually takes like a couple of minutes, and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, I get it. Okay, I get it.
You do have to wait a while for him to jump over.
It does take a while. I pushed him all the way, but that's still a lot.
When do I get to go fast again?
Yeah, sometimes Tails will mess it up too, and you'll lose your rings. Tails, son of a gun.
Anyway, into the pyramid. I'm sure that'll be fine.
Whee!
Ah!
A ghost!
Raggy. What? A ghost!
So there are ghosts in this pyramid. They are kept within the an egg capsule, apparently. That's something Robotnik can do. I guess he's got Ghostbusters technology.
Yep. Good for
nice
him.
job, Walter Peck.
This man has no penis. Anyway, yeah, so this is like one of the first instances of these kind of like countdown timer threats in Sonic, as far as I know. Not including drowning, obviously, but the idea of like you having to do so, you've got to keep doing a thing to stop this threat from attacking you, and in this case, it's the lights are going out, and when the lights go out, the little tiny itty-bitty little baby ghosts slowly but surely develop into monstrous little things with horns that will attack you.
And then they can swoop and get you. Now, I do think, okay, it's funny that you say that, because I don't know if it came up when we discussed on Superstars, but what is it? Is it Egg Press Act 2 that has the, whoops, if you let the countdown go, it's an instant death no matter what.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I mean, that just isn't that fun your first time through that in Sonic Superstars. Once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. But this, I prefer this, where it's like the ghost can just attack you and physically hurt you. It doesn't automatically like lose a life because they, I don't know, rip the soul out of Sonic's body. But because, if you like super or invincible, you can just let the little buggers try their best to hurt you and they can't. I like this more now, like pulling the being completely real with y'all. I think as a kid this kind of scared the shit out of me, just because of that panicked feeling of, oh no, now it's the lights went out, and then you have like 5 or 6 seconds before they start swooping down, and I really appreciate it more now as a pretty cool level gimmick, even if I don't really particularly enjoy like all of the sprawling like maze like, and if you don't know what to do, you can get stuck on those sand slides for a while, and then you got to crawl up through a lot of these crushing platforms with sand, and it's just not my favorite kind of Sonic level. It's too maze like, reminds me too much of Metropolis and Sonic 2, I guess.
Yeah, but I'd rather play this than Metropolis, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You know what? It's narratively, like I was saying, it's interesting, and the comics certainly got a lot out of this concept of because it does we don't know where it comes from or what race was here before. It looks very Egyptian just based on the hieroglyphs in the background, but it's interesting and it looks cool.
Am I remembering correctly that there was an early IDW backup story where Rouge was exploring the pyramids? I can't remember. I thought all I remember at the end is she puts bandages on herself to scare away the bad guys and doesn't steal anything. You know, you said about desert levels is I get what you mean because they're almost always like, yeah, it's not even Egypt, it's cartoon Egypt that, you know, Aladdin, like it's everyone just doing their take on an Arabian Nights Aladdin. But I do ultimately think like it ends up being cool. And it does provide like such a, like you said, revisit in other media, like just other cool things for characters to do in these locations. The Eggman boss in this is kind of weird. It's cool though.
Yeah, like I mentioned on the outline, he's basically in a big sarcophagus or something, or maybe it's meant to be like some sort of like stone structure or a golem of his own. I can't quite tell because it breaks apart when you hit it.
Yeah. I think it wasn't until Sonic Adventure 2 that I realized, like, oh, that's, like, I think the golem in Sonic Adventure 2 is, like, a combination of the mini-boss and this boss. And
It's literally called Egg Golem now I look at it,
Yeah. But I like, it almost looks like that Eggman found this, like, oh, you know, this ancient technology, and he just shoved a bunch of his own crap in there to weaponize it even further.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Completely desecrating this artifact that had cultural and educational potential.
I love the fact that you break it apart there every time you hit it, and it just makes me think of like a... Sorry, it just sort of makes me think of like a chocolate shell around the egg.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'd eat that.
First we crack the shell, then we crack the nuts inside.
Or in this case, the egg.
I do like how it, when you hit it, it comes apart in like layers. You know, like it just
it's a really cool
slides.
effect.
Yeah, it looks like it would pinch your fingers real bad if you weren't careful. Which I think you can, if you're not careful, get caught behind it. And I think there might be like a crushing death if you're not careful. Like it might.
I think that happened to me once.
Yeah, I wonder if it's even like built into the game, kind of like you see a lot of in Mario 64. Like, oops, if you get here, like the game will kill you after 5 seconds to keep it from hard crashing or something.
Well, in my case, when I was playing as Knuckles, Hyper Knuckles earlier, I somehow got crushed by landing next to his foot. So,
well.
But that's the retro engine for you, I guess. So.
Yeah. It's a little sensitive when it comes to those, but well. Who's ready to get more fire?
Oh boy. Okay, so after this, we fall. If you're playing a Sonic, you fall down a pit, and we get into possibly the most cinematic level in all of Sonic and Knuckles. At least it's certainly one of my favorites. It's Lava Reef Zone. Now, again, we've talked about it in great detail in actually both in our Sonic Mania episode and the Death Egg episode, because this is like one of the most like. Okay, first and foremost, it's a lava level, but a different lava level because it's underground. It's very cool. Actually, no, it's really hot. But yeah, in the distance, you'll start seeing glimpses of the Death Egg, which I guess this is the mountain. Like, we're underneath the mountain or the volcano, I guess, that it fell into.
Wasn't there some sort of comic at one point or something that Eggman said he was using like geothermal energy to power the Death Egg? I'm confusing it because I was playing the DLC for Sonic Frontiers recently, and he said something about geothermal energy in a conversation with Tails. So never mind.
Oh,
Pardon
okay. Now there was a not to date our recording. There was an IDW comic. It was the annual actually for this year, 2023, where Blaze meets up with Knuckles in Lava Reef, and she comes strolling on top of the lava like some kind of purple cat fire Jesus, and it's very cool. Mostly, I think from my memories of a kid of not being able to make it to a lot of these later levels, and then found them really hard because, hey, it was the first time I'd played them. I used to not like Lava Reef, and now I really like it because, I mean, honestly, you're really only playing one act of Lava Reef, because even though it says Lava Reef Act 2, it might as well say Hidden Palace Act 1 and 2.
Right, they did. That's the interesting thing, because all of this is like a load of like cool lava things. Like it's all your typical hot level stuff, with lots of like cool excavation tools and drills and things that are tearing stuff apart. And then there's the there's the boss with the giant hand, I guess. That's interesting.
I don't know. Maybe this was just me. It sure looks like the hand on the super Death Egg robot later. So
it does
is it
a
like,
bit, yeah.
Is that where these little doodads come from? Is it like a oh my god, he found the secret workshop. Send the arm. It's the only thing ready.
It's got an arm and two little what do we call these guys?
Oh, they were the same things that were attached to the Oil Ocean boss, weren't they?
Yeah.
In Mania, yeah.
Yeah, don't they shoot little laser balls out of them?
They show like they're little fire things. I'm not entirely sure what these guys are. They're just
little
snake
Toho
arm
bullets.
well, they're balls on chains that rise up
just
from the lava.
little tendril things.
Yeah,
tendrils.
little tendril things. That's what we're going to call them. You got to destroy all of these things that show up. They in alternate motions. They'll pop up, and the hand will pop up, and you destroy them all. And hooray, you win! And then everything goes cold, like lava does. Like magma tends to cool and turn into like man. Isn't there a name?
Delicious candy.
Yes, delicious candy. That's what magma turns into. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of crusts over. Is that I said what it's called? Something. I know. And there's also the whole what is it? The magma when it's under the ground, lava when it's above, like stalactite, stalagmite. I can never remember.
Igneous rock.
Yeah.
I should be calling it lava all the time because we're in lava reef, but I just like saying magma as well because it sounds cool.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jake. I think igneous rock is what it ultimately hardens into.
Well, if anyone would know.
I just know those videos of like geologists taking samples where they got the big hooks and they're just hooking into lava and you're like, forbidden taffy.
I look at the videos and I just go, brother.
Or the or the one of the can of Chef Boyardee slowly being enveloped by the lava and then when you think it's going to explode it does. Oh man.
It's like one of the hydraulic press videos but with lava.
Yes. But yeah, Act 2, like I said, this is the music changes to the Hidden Palace music, but this is still technically Lava Reef, because once you make it through this, and you're like, oh, hey, Knuckles, hey, are you starting to think maybe this Eggman guy isn't on your side? Oh, no, you're going to push a big f***ing rock on me? Okay.
This still is Lava Reef. There isn't much lava anymore, there's still flames, but yeah, everything's cold now. It's all cooled down. And it's so atmospheric. It's all blue now.
A very crystalline environment.
Yeah, I love the contrast here is what makes this.
Okay, before we get to the end of this, what are the names of the little eyeball weirdo badniks that spray you with horrible gas that kills you?
Toxomeisters, I believe.
Wow, that is the perfect name for those little freaks. They're so weird and unique. Like you've got the little rock badniks that, just explode and kill themselves. And then you got these guys. Yeah.
Sorry, it's Toxomister, apparently. I
even
always
better.
Maybe that was just a misspelling in Sonic the Comic. They have a precedence for this. But yeah, and then there's Iwamadoki, who apparently remained untranslated, and I only know he's called Iwamadoki.
I know why you know he's called Iwamadoki.
I had to voice that guy, that one man who yells out, Iwamadoki!
You had to voice that one fireworm and that one short.
Yep.
I do like Toxomister in the Japanese name. Kinda sounds like just poison. Oh man,
Puwazone.
Yeah, that guy. He's. When you get caught in now I can't remember. When you get caught in his gas, does it start draining your rings or does it just slow you down?
No, it definitely starts depleting your rings.
Oh, okay. So it's just making you chill out, man. It's not actively hurting you.
Well, no, it is. It's like, it slows you. At the very least, I know it slows your progress. I think it does. But yeah, your rings are just like, I'm pretty sure going ba-ding, ba-ding.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that is like, you know, a PSA to kids.
Yeah, it's basically like Supersonic, where you lose a ring every second.
Gotcha. Not a good gas. No beneficial effects. And yeah, good old fireworm. There he is.
I like his Japanese name, Mamba.
Mamba. Good for him.
Good for him.
Good for him. But you get to the end of this zone, and one of the best moments in the entire game happens, where you get forward and then you look up, you see the death egg like looking down.
Hey, how you doing?
Yep. And then it lights up and everything ignites and you are on the move, and it is so good.
Yeah, we talked about this in the Death Egg episode, but we had to. This is like the premiere moment of the Death Egg. It's not even in the sky yet. Yeah, look at it.
That freaking crumbling platform right after everything lights on fire got me the first time through.
Me too.
I fell, lost all my rings. Ah, man.
And there's Robotnik in the background in his Eggomatic, or whatever this one is called. And he looks so terrifying at first.
Yeah.
The Egg Inferno, that's the name.
He's taken everything. He's learned from what is it, Marble Zone. He's learned from Hilltop, and it's like he's created this invincible Eggomatic machine that Sonic cannot even touch. And then he starts firing enormous bombs that can damage him. He appears in the background in it too. You get a look at what the bottom of it looks like.
He looks like actually intimidating for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you actually get to the book, because like this is like a panic-stricken section. You're rushing along. You're having to ride these. I guess the stones. Are they like the hardened lava? Whatever it is, you're riding down
like
a lava waterfall, a lava fall, if you will, and then he pops up from the lava. And then he proceeds to beat himself, which is great. I mean, it is actually a dangerous boss. Like, let's be honest. Unless you have a fire shield, in which case it's a lot easier. But
it's like, what if the Egg Antlion from Sonic 2 8-bit was good?
Yeah, pretty much. I do like how they give you a checkpoint at the top of this just in case, but the screen is also scrolling so fast because you're like, oh man, I got 40 rings. Maybe I can hop into the special stage and get more. Oh no, I missed the timing. And they do give you a couple of goodies on the way down the waterfall just to give you a fighting chance.
So yeah, that's just because like we've steadily seen the Death Egg grow in size in the background as we grow closer to it, I suppose. And here it is, full form, the biggest possible, some of the greatest look at it, and this boss. And Lava Reef is just one of those, like we said, like narratively, Sandopolis is good, but this is so much better.
Yes.
Look at this. It's the progression. This is where it starts really leaning into the story and how cool everything looks. And the reason I still look at the Death Egg in awe is because of stuff like this.
It's very cool, and I don't know what else to say other than it's just a really pretty level and good stuff.
It's the full package.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we get to maybe the coolest. Speaking of cinema.
Yeah, this is cinema.
This next one, the true Hidden Palace. This ain't your Sonic 2 beta Hidden Palace. This is the real deal.
It's finally here.
This was what we understood Hidden Palace to be for like over a decade.
Yeah, and here it is. It's well, it's not a difficult level at all. There's barely any challenge here, but we've go into this like what can we how do we describe this structure? It's like I wouldn't say a ruin. It's almost like a fully like everything here still seems pristine.
Yeah, it's like it's such a great transition from Lava Reef Act 2 to this, where it has a very
subterranean temple.
Yeah, it has a very similar palette to where you can almost assume like, like Lava Reef is like the remnants of, if you want to say the ancient echidnas, like digging to the center of this mountain and building this, this shrine to the Chaos Emeralds here and or potential, like we know the shrine is different in Sonic Adventure. It's whatever, but just this really cool area.
Yeah.
Or who knows, like maybe they discovered it. Like this was here even before the echidnas. Oh man,
Maybe
man.
so. And part of the reason we think it's related to Lava Reef, admittedly, is because the music keeps playing from Act 2. But
Yeah.
it still works. It still really works for this.
Yep.
set.
It's still very, kind of ethereal, which works really well with the change in setting.
Yeah, I think there's about 35 or so rings you can collect before the checkpoint, and then you can hop into the checkpoint, and I think it's the glowing orbs one, and if you can make it to the top, you can end up with like 200 rings, and then take a few steps forward and beat the shit out of Knuckles with your hyper form.
Yeah, because here it is, finally, after he has, at every turn, has ruined your journey. has played all sorts of pranks. We didn't even mention how he somehow manages to make a tornado gust up in Mushroom Hill Zone, and then punches a giant jewel at you that sent you flying in Lava Reef Zone. But after all his tricks and schemes, you finally get to take him on, and he's really easy, actually. After all that.
He does. He throws everything at you. He's got a punch. He's got a spin dash. He can sometimes get one over on you. He can catch you off guard. But I like how he can block your hits too. He just tanks them, puts his dukes up, and
if you spin dash at him, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. I do like to think of him just standing there waiting for you and just glancing at the giant mural behind him and being like, "Huh. Wonder what that means."
I hope they never confirmed the shadow mural theory. I love the idea that it's just this implied thing that everybody knows about, but just doesn't ever need to be made official because it's just this one headcanon we all shared that's just very good.
Just implied. I think it's been heavily implied that Gerald visited the island, possibly, but then the fact that he would base like the ultimate life form on this mural that clearly shows the Doomsday Zone and Supersonic chasing Eggman. But yes, just a very cool man. You're bringing back memories of like entire like forum threads and pre-wiki articles just going on and on about that thing.
Like it's the kind of thing Sega never would have thought of, probably. But it is the kind of thing when Ian Flynn's there, like you would battle to make true. You make canon.
Like you said, like the obscure, like, the Japanese manual mentioning an ancient civilization destroyed, and like then Sonic Adventure is like, oh yeah, I guess that does line up. Sure. But it's just rule of cool. It's a neat thing.
Then all of a sudden everything starts blowing up. Well, kind of. You hear it. After you knock Knuckles out, if you bludgeon him unconscious as he deserves. And,
oh no, sudden and inevitable betrayal.
There it is. Eggman is trying to nick the Master Emerald. He's done enough playing. Now, why did he do this now? Why did he choose now? Is it because Knuckles was busy fighting Sonic that it was like, oh, right, now I can take the Master Emerald?
I guess probably yes, and also he's probably just like, I don't know, maybe he realized maybe it was spur of the moment, like the Death Egg was flying without it before, but then I wonder if he's not like, say, maybe I'll just take I was going to take this anyway, but now I'll use it to get this thing back up in the air.
Yeah.
Isn't it either that or, well, okay, so Sonic 3 Origins has now confirmed in the pre-game cutscene that Eggman actually landed in like the Hidden Palace.
Oh, right.
So he knows where everything is. But that kind of flies in the face of a few fan theories, is that like the part of the reason he's tearing shit up on Angel Island is because he's looking for them. He's like trying to find the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds, I suppose, where they are.
Could be.
Whatever it is, now is the time to just use his big grabber to grab the Master Emerald while Knuckles is like, hey, put that back. Like, and it's a lovely little cutscene, basically, with these little, like, sprite animated cutscene of Knuckles jumping up and being like, stop it, stop doing that thing, put it back. And he's like pointing down, like, put it back down.
I shake my fist at you.
Yeah, it's great. And he, like, in a desperate motion, he, like, launches himself onto the Master Emerald to try and take it back, and then these little electronic tendrils wiggle out of the Eggomatic to just electrocute him right in the forehead, I guess.
I know. Hey, buddy, watch where you're sticking those. And then, I mean, you also get the, I don't know, like, it is just a classic cartoon, like, oh, you see their skeleton when they get shocked.
Yeah.
But, again, all my childhood memories flooding back. I mean, this was the most, I've said before about a lot of Sonic things as a child, the most dramatic thing I'd ever seen. And
Yeah.
I was always very careful to like play along as I'm controlling Sonic, like, oh no, I'll stop you, Eggman. And you can get some hits on it, which, hey, this Eggomatic really is indestructible because there's nothing you can do. Oh, but yeah, and then even the following section, like making very sure to like play into it as Sonic, like, oh, are you okay, dude?
I'm sorry, I just love the fact that the ground like explodes, I guess, because of the Master Emerald being taken away.
Oh yeah,
and you and Tails land okay, but Knuckles is already like bludgeoned unconscious again for the second time in this, and he just falls and thuds down onto the ground below. So no wonder he's tired after that. He's like exhausted and probably in pain.
I know he's got little whatchamacallit, he's seeing stars. He's got a little dizzy stars too.
He's got a concussion.
But he shakes it off, and he's like, you see, like, we're not used to seeing this much like emotion and like in these little character sprites. Aside from when Sonic's like, obviously annoyed at the player, and starts tapping his foot and being like, "Yo, we got to get moving." That's the most we see of that. But you just sort of like see the thoughts crossing on Knuckles' head as he realizes he's been played for a schmuck.
Yep.
And then he's just like, "All right, check this out."
I really like the contrast where he's like you said, he's exhausted, but like it seems like he's putting on a brave face where he's finally like, come on, he beckons Sonic and Tails. He's like, come on this way, and leads you to the little teleporter. And then you get to Sky Sanctuary, and he just has enough energy to hit that one last bridge to get you to the start of the zone. And he's just, man, he cannot go on any further. He's entrusting it to you, Sonic.
Yeah, because now we're in Sky Sanctuary. Awesome scene. Like,
oh yeah,
maybe it's just partly my childhood nostalgia of it, but there is something about the sight of the Death Egg, like ascending through the clouds as all the Egg Robos shoot off of it, and it's a sight to behold. Knuckles like drags himself over to leap across and hit a switch that lets you across to the next section. As he's sort of like, he stays there. He can't do anything else, as you mentioned. He's knackered, and of course, if you like specifically stand at one point right to the right of Knuckles and press down, Knuckles will activate a otherwise unseen animation, like telling you to go, like go, leave.
Oh, I think I've seen that before, but oh man, that's so cool.
I only learned how to do that after watching Cybershell's video.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go look that up. Yeah, that's so cool. Because I always, again, like little dramatic kid me, I would always like cross the bridge and then make a point to turn around one more time, just a second, to be like, are you sure you're gonna be okay? All right, let's go.
I did that too in different games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the game just facilitates the little moments like that. Yeah, Sky Sanctuary is very cool.
There's a reason why this was the one chosen from Sonic and Knuckles for generations. It is the one that everybody knows just because all the pieces are there. The like cinematic moments, the like triumphant music, the Death Egg rising in the background being such a striking image, and of course the recurring mini boss.
Oh boy!
Yeah. Oh man.
Sonic.
Well, yeah. At first, we don't know exactly who he is, because you just see like an Eggomatic show up, and it's got like looks like a metal. Like at first, I was like, "It's a Metal Sonic." I haven't even played Sonic CD yet. What's he doing here? But there he is, poking his head out of an Eggomatic, which is a bit weird. But yeah, he'll periodically show up throughout the stage and make you fight a couple bosses from Sonic 1 and 2 for some reason.
Yep, the old ball and chain, and then the Metropolis boss. Get out of here!
The egg wrecker and the egg bouncer, like one right after the other.
Right down to having like little balloon versions of himself in the Egg-O-Matic, which is
it's
great.
pretty good.
It's very good.
I love all the little teleporters. God, again, cinematic moment. I think my favorite moment in this level is near the end where you come across one of the big like temple pillars and all the little animals come rushing out, and then whoa, right behind is an egg robo. Look out!
Yeah, I remember that. So he's chasing out the animals. What a jerk!
Like I wonder if that was Eggman's big plan. Get the death egg up there, like, and then send the egg robos down to just start raising everything and making sure we have an endless supply of little animals for up here. And he's such a bad guy. What a butthead.
This is the origin of the egg robos too. We've not seen them throughout the game at all unless you're playing as Knuckles. And they are literally just Eggman robots. They're like metal. They're metal
Look at all
Eggman.
those Eggman's robots.
Yep, the big brother of the egg pawns. I like these guys. They're cool. I like it when the 3D one shows up in Sonic R.
Yeah, he's cool. He's got a big gun. Well, it's a laser, really. But
yeah. Yep. It's a laser. There's even maybe it's just the big dangly feet. I even see some like the E100 series, Gamma and the like some inspiration.
Yeah, you can see
robos.
like the line from point A to point B is pretty clear.
The original iPhone to the iPhone 4 eventually. Whatever. Sky Sanctuary, incredibly cool. And yes, the boss at the end, it revealed in all his glory, is Mechasonic Mark II.
Yeah, because throughout this whole stage, everything has been falling apart, and the ground has been falling apart. Now you're on the last section of the Sky Sanctuary ruins, and there he is. There's Mechasonic. And he kind of fights you like Mechasonic in Sonic 2, really. His attack patterns are quite similar, but with a twist. Throws you for a loop a little bit.
Oh, I was just going to say, it definitely threw me for a loop a lot when I first encountered this boss, because I was like, wait, jumping? What?
Yep. always backwards. Look out. Here he comes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really like those. It's not an overly complicated fight, and unlike Sonic 2, like you should have plenty of rings to make it through this, but just so cool. And man, if there's any robot that looks like the Terminator, it's this one.
Yeah, I love this guy.
I love when you destroy. I mean, first of all, you don't destroy him. He just kind of collapses, and he's making that cool electricity sound in the background, which I guess you assume he's destroyed when the ground falls and he plummets back to the solid ground.
This whole level is very much and Hidden Palace, I think. This is like where some of the parallels to Laputa Castle in the Sky are very prominent, because this whole part of everything falling apart, like the ancient ruins falling apart, it feels taken from that film.
Oh yeah, and I think it's very cool that they recreated that in gameplay for the Generations version.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But this last part of just running up this sort of like a spiral around a remaining sort of like floating pillar, it's so cool. Like it's just a little like automated section that serves as the level transition as you leap up to the death egg. But man, I just love it so much.
Yeah, it's very, very cool to point out the like you said, the connections to Ghibli's Laputa, because it's not just floating islands. It's a lot of the architecture in Sky Sanctuary, and even like the concept of robots firing lasers might be a little bit inspired from that movie. Yeah. It's a very cool one. That's an early Ghibli movie that I bet a lot of people haven't gone back to watch, and you really should. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great on its own, but if you're looking for the Sonic and Knuckles parts, you might be like, oh yeah. So yeah, if you're a Sonic nerd, it's always good to look at the things that inspired Sonic, because there's a lot of them.
Yes.
Sonic is been plagiarizing since the day he was born, but we love him for it.
Well, as they say, there's nothing original under the sun.
And we finally arrived at the big scary space station itself.
Well, quick question.
Yes.
Since I know we haven't talked much about the Knuckles version of things, but there is a really big significant difference for Sky Sanctuary, or do we just want to wait till later?
I mean, we could just you talking about Knuckles' final boss is in Sky Sanctuary.
Yeah, it makes sense, really, because, like, when Knuckles' playthrough, by the way, seems to take place after Sonic's, and obviously there wouldn't be a Death Egg at this point.
Right.
So, naturally, they're just, like, you go through Lava Reef, there's no boss there, you go through Hidden Palace, there's nothing there, and then you end up in Sky Sanctuary, or what's remaining of it. You see Angel Island, precariously balancing in the distance, which suggests to me, like, Sky Sanctuary is lower than it was before. And basically the Egg Robo grabs you, because the Egg Robo is your Robotnik in this playthrough to make it a little different. And then you fight Mecha Sonic as he destroys Egg Robo.
Yeah.
And it's the same boss battle, but then, because as we know, he's not destroyed. We saw that he somehow survived that fight against Sonic.
Somehow he survived.
Yeah. Somehow Metal Sonic survived. Yeah. Returned, even. So yeah, like... But then he comes back alive. He zooms off. And the Master Emerald is there for some reason. And then he just... he leaps onto it. And he turns full Super Mecha Sonic. And how flippin' cool is this?
God,
This
it is
was
So cool.
I remember making it to this for the first time as a kid and being a little miffed that I'm like, well, why can't I do that too? It doesn't work that way. He's a cool robot.
Yeah, but still, the idea of being able to fight another super form is just, you know, incredible. Like, everybody loves a good rival battle where, you know, you're taking on somebody with the same, you know, powers and strength and abilities as you. And this is like the culmination of that, where it's like somebody can go to like the full extent of your power, and you have to find a way to beat that without being able to do that yourself. And it's like,
you only get 3 rings on this stage, so
yep.
You can't turn Super 2 through conventional means. It's cool though. Like, gosh, the whole thing is like really cinematic. The Angel Island in the background, the Master Emerald, him like, and obviously it's not a form he can maintain for very long, the Mecha Sonic, because every so now and then it will like fade off, and that's your chance to hit him, because you can't hit him when he's super. And oh man, I don't know what it. And he jumps back on, and he goes. And, that's it. That's the best way to describe it. It's cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
but he can't keep the form forever, and he starts like petering down and like starts firing rings at you, I guess. And then he sort of like momentarily turns blue again. Thus, you get a chance to hit him. And I love this.
Very cool.
I think it also sets up a really interesting precedent that I don't think that they've taken advantage of since, where like not just the heroes, but I mean, well, I guess Chaos did technically in Sonic Adventure, but I'm talking about like robots specifically. I don't think a robot's ever like taken advantage of the power of either all 7 Chaos Emeralds or the Master Emerald and achieved a super form like this. And it's really interesting. And I think that they could pull from this for like later things.
There's a whole thing about this, isn't there? Like, Ian Flynn has like answered questions about this, because in Sonic Mania Adventures, Metal Sonic used all 7 Chaos Emeralds and did not transform Super, but then he did jump on the Master Emerald later, and was suggested maybe he would have turned Super, but we don't find out because Knuckles decks him immediately, so
yeah.
He learned from last time.
There's definitely potential, because I immediately thought of like, oh, Metal Sonic and Heroes, but like, oh no, he doesn't use the emeralds there.
No.
And I guess the closest direct thing might be Gemerald in Sonic Advance 3, but even then, like, there's plenty of potential there, I believe.
Yeah.
And, you know, it also seems like, hey, mentioning Ian Flynn as far as like, hey, you can only wait. In the Angel Island arc in IDW, does Metal Sonic not go super? Am I misremembering that?
No, you know what? Metal Overlord, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Did
yeah,
he
he
turn
did.
big?
Yeah, so you know
Yeah,
what he did.
okay,
He
okay.
did. Yeah, sorry, we're forgetting. It's been a while.
Because I was about to say, like, you can kind of only pull that ripcord once. And yes, I guess a pseudo sequel to Sonic Heroes with Metal Overlord. Yes, that was the time to do it. Yeah, I'm
was
remembering
cool,
that
actually.
now.
Now, how do we forget that? That was cool as balls.
Well, it was, let's see, what is
Because
it?
it's been 5
2023?
years and we're old.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
Oh, man. Yes, super Mecha Sonic. It's very cool. And then Knuckles gets his own cool ending. And I always love how Sonic pops up in the tornado in that ending. Like, him and Tails had gone, but then who knows, like maybe saw the island faltering and it's like, oh, we better swing back around. And now Knuckles like, you so-and-so, you're back.
And it really does vary like, this is like one of the biggest, like, if you don't have the emeralds, biggest change, because thankfully, if you don't have the emeralds, Angel Island doesn't hurtle down towards the ground. There's the ocean below, but it does, like, fall back down and turn into basically the island it was at the beginning of Sonic 3. But if you get all the emeralds, it goes to flipping space. Well, okay, it doesn't. It stops just short. But Knuckles goes to space.
Yay, I did it.
Sonic characters can breathe in space, apparently. That's just a thing that they can do.
Yeah, we got.
Sorry, you were saying.
No, I was going to say the bad Knuckles ending is the end of the floating island in STC, where I remember on that episode was like, oh, it's fucking gone.
Yep.
It's gone forever.
Knuckles briefly considers suicide. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would be a dark ending to a video game.
Yes, Amy talks him out of it.
Well,
Good for her.
clobbers him out of it.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, man. Yeah.
Space.
Death Egg Zone.
Nice.
We're back to Death Egg Zone again. This is how Death Egg was like. I guess this is what they wanted to do with Death Egg and Sonic 2. Make it a full level.
This feels like the full realization of what they wanted to do there.
Yep, there's that big Star Wars power generator in the background.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get me wrong.
I mean, it
it's
is.
super cool,
so
but
cool.
that is definitely what that is.
It's all sci-fi, as you'd expect. Lots of cool gimmicks, lots of cool things popping around. Those little machines that bleepy you all around the place, you around the stage.
Oh yeah, that thing. Man, what a noise. I do like you can skip all of those in Act 1, and in fact you should, because there's usually like, there's like 14 item boxes down here that you would have skipped. Again, another one, another zone I used to not like because it seemed so difficult as a child, and now I really appreciate, like, it's just the right amount of balance, I think. Act 2 is a little more sprawling, in fact, there's a few sections that I think really overstay their welcome, but Act 1 is really good of like, okay, this place feels huge and dangerous, but it's not impossible. And this also might be my favorite mini boss in the game, just because I love that this little giant eyeball has shown up in so many other media. We were just talking about it even in the Sonic X comics we just did.
Yeah.
I think this is the guy in his best form, though.
Yeah.
What's his name then? Red Eye, Scarlet Eye,
Red Eye.
They have multiple. Okay, it's just Red Eye in his original form. It's just red.
It's a good
it's red.
Wes Craven movie.
So yeah, it's a cool boss. Like, you think it's going to be simple one where you just bash the eye over and over, and there's little balls surrounding him sort of explode and send out spikes. But then he, like, detaches himself from the central unit that he's a part of, and
second
fires
phase.
a laser and has little platforms. It's like an inverted, extra evil version of the Wing Fortress boss with those little platforms that spin around, and if you get on them, they'll go super fast, and you will get lasered. Very
Yes,
cool.
those little platforms move, arguably too fast.
Yeah.
But it's so cool, and this is like the ultimate boss of like, it is vulnerable the whole time, but like, good luck getting a hit while those things are spinning. It's very cool. I just love how this is like and I mean it's like it's part of the Death Egg itself. Like, not only, you could extrapolate like, oh man, was this just like a big security thing? Was this controlling other things? And then it breaks out of its containment and comes after you. It's cool. I really like it.
While we're on Act 1, by the way, I just want to briefly give lip service to that anti-grav section where you're like, you've got like this bit really like confused me as a child, but probably because I'm partly colorblind. I couldn't tell you were supposed to hit this like central thing in the middle of the stage that's turns from like green to red, or is it yellow to red? I think it's yellow to red. I can never tell them apart. Sorry, everyone. Like my eyes are broken.
It's a weird shade. It's like a lime greenish yellow, and then it turns to like a bright red orange, and it's hard to even describe. You kind of have to see it to know what we're talking about. It's like a weird like bouncing platforms that make the bouncer pinball noises, and yes, just this thing going up and down that has 6 buttons, 3 on either side. And I think I mentioned in part 1 that I had an oopsie doodle death in this one playing Sonic 3 Complete, where the red gate that's supposed to close behind you in this level came right down on top of me and killed me.
Oh man.
But I remember you can just get caught in a bad feedback loop and get stuck in this section. It's really weird, but it's kind of cool. Like the anti-gravity, it's definitely getting you practiced up for the for Act 2 for certain.
Yep. So in Act 2, the ground gives out once again, and you're sort of transported to basically, I guess it's the exterior of the Death Egg. You're now outside. That's how I interpret it, because you see the planet behind you.
Oh, it's beautiful too.
It is, and terrifying.
Yes, it does remind me of Sonic 2, but I like the palette used on the planet. I mean, I'll probably just slip and call it Earth or Sonic's World, whatever. But it uses it's not as bright and colorful. Like, it's not really like, bright green grass for the continents. It's kind of muted. There's a lot of browns.
Yeah.
And the blue is a little faded. And yes, like you said, it's intimidating. It's a little scary. I mean, you're like, kind of like a final chase in a Sonic Adventure 2. You're like, oh, if I fall in this, like Sonic is falling all the way down to the planet through the atmosphere and dying.
Probably burning up before he even gets
He's going to burn up on re-entry, yeah.
Oh, yes.
But this is the one where you go upside down a lot.
Yep.
And that is a very frustrating mechanic. But it is, like, it really sort of, like, gets across that you're not in, I guess it's, like, shows that you're, like, there's an orbit around the Death Egg itself, and you're sort of, like, switching between different gravities or something, because you're not, like, contained within, like, the artificial gravity of the space station itself anymore. Or maybe it's just cool and gives you a chance to play in reverse control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only section I truly think is bad is there is a particular checkpoint right before you have to do one of the I don't know what to call them. The
electrified elevator sections. Yeah.
Yes. And if you die on that section, the checkpoint is actually before you get any rings. Yeah. And you have to do 2 of those without getting hit by the little rockets, and also fighting this little treadmill that is changing directions at random. And man, I think it was, my Sonic 3 complete playthrough, I'd had like 50, 60 lives built up, and still probably spent maybe close to 10 of them just trying to get through that section, because I was getting in my own head like, okay, the things won't launch until you get close to them, and blah, 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 and there's spikes, and oof, that's the only section I really don't like. This particular playthrough, I guess I never realized there's a point where it throws you in one of those little anti-gravity things like Act 1, and it wants you to pick left or right. And I do not know if I'd ever chosen the right path before.
That section.
And I chose the right path and was like, hey, wait a second. I don't know if I've ever done this before. So that was cool.
Yeah, it's like in, zones like chemical plants or whatever, where you get to choose the direction you go and get completely different routes, and I appreciate that.
Well, that's what happens when the levels are big as they are and sprawling. You're gonna miss stuff, and you're probably there's gonna be a route that you like to take all the time. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm always finding new things in Sonic and Knuckles, and boy, this stage is quite big. I like it a lot, but it also really it is intimidating. I think it's like the switching between gravity, it's the switching controls, the just the scale. And I'm looking at a screenshot here, and you can just see that's a lot of planet in the background. Actually,
Yeah.
Like you are in space,
but you're like still in the orbit of the planet, and it's so close.
Like I said in Sonic 2, it reminds you of what you're fighting for, you know?
True.
Yeah.
More than ever. And this is where so we can talk about, there's another mini-boss, by the way, because they just wanted to load up on things that you're going to suffer as much as possible. And this guy almost looks, it's a guy called Death Ball. He looks kind of like a mini Death Egg now I look at him.
Yeah. I like his design. Weirdly, this might be a weird pull. I guess just because he's like this black purple color and he's got those scary unblinking eyes, he kind of reminds me of the but what it really is, it's Butterball from the Hellraiser theories. The big guy with the glasses. He just kind of looks like that to me. But yeah, I remember getting a timeout on this as a kid, and because this boss is can be frustrating if you don't know what you're supposed to do. But once you get the hang of it, I remember getting to this just recently and figuring out that you do have invincibility when you're spinning around in the thing, so you could pretty easily keep your rings even if you don't have a shield when you're doing this.
Because you got these little these almost teleporter-looking guys that basically send you to the ceiling to reverse the gravity, so you're doing that again. And this guy is basically Lakitu-ing the whole round because he's sending out these little spiny guys on little wheels. And they are the only method you can use to damage this guy is his own little weapons.
And it's only from the bottom too. The bottom up.
You can hit them from the top as well.
Okay.
If they get stuck in the, I think it's if they get stuck in the, either way, I try to do a spin dash sometimes and if they're pointing at him in the right way, they will hit him. It's a tricky little boss. I can't always remember which way you do things. And sometimes if you spin dash them, no, because what happens is they'll detach from where they are and return to a standing position. But if they get in the way, if he's in the way when they bounce off the ground or the ceiling, he'll take damage. So there are many ways to beat this guy. But at the end of the day, he's kind of beating himself again. One of these many sort of self-destructive bosses.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if that doesn't speak for their creator, I don't know what else to say.
This is very true.
It is once you get a hang of the timing, how long it takes to get in the little gravity switcher and how long the things get to jump up, you can pretty much get it. Especially if you get lucky and the dude drops 3 at once, and you can get 3 consecutive quick hits. But yes, this is technically the last little mini boss in this Act 2 because, I like you point out that the potential final boss is almost like its own act, and I forgot to check. I don't know if that was something that was changed in further releases. I know you do get to keep your rings from the final mini boss, the Death Ball, into this if you have any.
Yep.
I think
but
even
only that first time. If you lose your life,
my god. Which, to be fair, I was just talking to someone. They were actually talking about their playthrough of Sonic Superstars, and we were both talking about how, pretty fun game. Bosses are not good. How this is such a better giant Eggman robot, Death Egg robot fight than Sonic 2. Sonic 2 is such a pure, nope, you get 0 rings, and it's going to be really hard. This one is much more doable with 0 rings, and I really appreciate that.
I can see where the final main boss of Sonic Superstars was inspired by this boss, but I think they were inspired in the wrong ways, because this is a bit of a drawn-out boss, but each phase kind of stands out on its own, and if you know what you're doing, you're probably going to be okay, but oh boy, it's a bit of a long one.
Yep, it's incredibly cool. Like we've been talking about, it's very cinematic, and I believe in all the right ways. Like, you have to wait around for it to start when Eggman hops in this giant hatch that you don't really see the whole thing yet, and then the ground starts shaking and falling apart, and then you're just hearing the crashes, and God, it feels like the whole space station is rumbling, and then you see this thing coming across the screen with its giant hands, and oh boy, here it comes.
Like, we thought the Sonic 2 mech was big. This guy doesn't even fit on the screen. Right. No. That's how big he is.
We don't even really get to see his feet. Like, we see a mini version of this later, but it's not the same. Oh man, it's very cool. I do like, you can get the timing just right as the giant fingers come down and just spin dash and hit about 4 or 5 of them at the same time.
I really appreciate that this boss is multi-tiered, because I've always had sort of an affection for bosses that have multiple stages to their overall fight. And I feel like the different stages that Giant Eggman Robo has they build off of each other in increasing difficulty and also just increasing coolness, because admittedly the first part's a little bit silly because he's basically just like, I'm going to get you with my fingies, and then
I am crushing your head.
Yeah.
Oh no, my fingies, they explode.
But then the second part is like, it gets much cooler with like, either he's, well, funny enough, still shooting fire out of his nose. But he also...
I know, that gets me sometimes. I forget about that. Whoa, it got me.
Meatball.
Oh, it got you with your flamey bogies.
Yep.
But also using the Master Emerald to shoot lasers at you. That's really cool.
Oh, it's so cool. I still remember the first time where I'm like, oh, that must be the weak point. And then you hear it charging up and you're like, wait, hold on a second. Uh-oh. Better have been practicing that insta-shield.
Oh, yeah.
You got to time that really well. But
yes.
I think you get the hang of it. But it's a really cool image, though, isn't it? Like, taking out the chest compartment, and there's the Master Emerald. Oh, but he's using it as a weapon. Yeah. Oh, no.
Of course.
As the ground is, like, giving out under you, by the way, this is, like, one of those, like, sections where it's scrolling, kind of. And you've got to keep, like, moving ahead.
You have to be multitasking.
So you just sort of imagine him, like, stomping around, like, destroying the ground underneath him. I wonder if he's actually walking on the Death Egg itself. That's a funny image to me.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of seems like it, yeah. Like in a 3D recreation, like in an alternate Sonic Generations where it was this Death Egg robot instead of Sonic 2, like, would we get a pull out and just see him, like, leaving footprints on the Death Egg?
Cool.
And, oh, man.
That would be really neat.
Very, very cool. And then, you think you got it, and then there's one more little section. Eggman's making a break for it with the Master Emerald once again. And, oh man, I hate to say, I think it was in our chat to where it's really hard to get the timing on, you're chasing Eggman now, and it's hard to get the timing on these hits because you might rebound too hard and not be able to run up this crumbling platform.
Oh, yeah.
I did manage to get this part, but it's like, you've got to be running a lot. Like, and when you feel like you're going to fall, keep running, because you'll still make it.
Yeah, the timing is very tricky.
You can, again, if you've really good at controlling Tails in other releases like Origins, he can give you a hand, like, oh, I'm falling, help, Tails. And it seems like the easiest thing for me is, okay, you run and catch up with Eggman, and then kind of balance it to make it sure you're jumping straight up and not at him from behind or at him from a little in the front, because if you jump straight up, you should just bounce straight back down to the ground, and it should give you enough momentum to not fall and die. Yeah. Especially on the last hit, which happened to me a few times.
Gosh, it is a very frustrating, but it's so satisfying when you finally get that last hit and hopefully don't bound off into the abyss on that last one, and finally claim the Master Emerald for yourself, and finally have beaten the game. Actually, no, you haven't.
Well, maybe you have, but if you're good at
if you're playing, if you haven't got all the emeralds,
or if you're Tails,
or if you're Tails, or Amy.
Yes, or Amy. So as long as you have at least one set of 7 emeralds, you are granted access to the true final last story zone.
The Doomsday.
Ba-dum-ba-bum.
It's
so good.
So this is the first supersonic only stage, or hypersonic, I suppose, if you've got all
depending.
the emeralds. And it's like sets the precedent for many Sonic final bosses in the 3D games, because this is a stage where you're just supersonic.
And even some of the 2D ones.
True. Actually, now you mention it, this is a supersonic stage, hypersonic stage, flying through space. Oh my god. Oh, how cool is this? How stressful is this as well? Wow. So yeah, instead of a sky chase, it's a space chase, and so what we find, okay, the final weapon is what you're trying to catch up with, Luke has just linked us to. It's basically a giant Eggman Robo in a big blue ball of blisters with rockets on the
Ball of blisters.
They kind of just look like a bunch of what do you call it? Rocket boosters, like on the space shuttle, that are made to fall off.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Hey, they do eventually.
Yep.
So basically, you went out of your way to catch the Master Emerald, but apparently that didn't matter because Eggman got it again somehow with this thing. Fine, whatever. The continuity is a little bit wobbly, but whatever.
I like to think when the screen goes white and instead of going to the credits, this thing just comes flying in out of nowhere and scarfs up the Master Emerald.
Now I mention it, like people, this isn't actually the giant Eggman Robo. This is like a sort of like an amalgamation of that and the Death Egg robot from Sonic 2, because it's smaller. You can fit on the screen this time.
It kind of looks like a big egg robo, the little guys, but with elements of the final boss of Sonic 2. It's neat. It's like I wonder if it was meant to serve as like the ultimate escape capsule.
Maybe. But the idea, it's funny that that's like the last minute thing. It's just the final version of the final boss from the last game. But the idea that, but basically what happens here is, once again, like, he's firing, like, missiles at you while he's in the final weapon mode, while he's in the booster mode, and you have to just redirect them towards him, so he, like, hits himself. Once again, continuing the tradition of Eggman blowing his own shit up. and that's what eventually unleashes the last Death Egg robot holding the Master Emerald. And you've got to keep collecting your rings, by the way. That's the thing to remember. You're zooming along here, got to keep those rings, kind of like in the end of Sonic Superstars we already talked about, or better versions of that, like this one. And yeah. And by the way, though, something I realized when I was playing the original version, because I was had a little bit of lag. After a while, once you get down to like 10 rings or fewer, the music starts speeding up to make you even more anxious.
That's cool. I don't think I knew that. And man, what a banger of a track.
Yes.
I know we will reiterate, we've kind of curbed our music discussion because in the future we are going to do another listening party style episode because there are that many versions of this soundtrack to listen to.
Yep.
But man, it's so good. I mean, another one that you can tell is just like made for a screaming guitar solo in the back, and I believe has official versions with that in it.
There was a point where, I don't know if it was a placeholder or what, but there was a remix of the Doomsday playing in the Big Arms fighting Generations during...
Yeah, it was like in an early version of the Sonic Generations 3DS version. And everyone was like, wait a minute, that's the wrong song. They're like, quickly, Big Arm version.
And then we got an amazing Big Arms remix that is still one of my favorites.
This is the standard forever of Supersonic levels. And man, I really, I have not revisited a lot of the, we just did the Sonic Advance one, which is okay. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think the only one that comes close, and it's not really the same style, is the Sonic Mania Super Boss, because that is like one of the only ones where you have that much control over Supersonic. And it's just really cool. I think the only one that's captured the same feeling, I won't try and get into gameplay minutia, I think I've said before, is a Final Hazard, the Sonic Adventure 2 one. That feels like Doomsday Zone to me, except in 3D. And Man, it's just super cool. I Doomsday is such a cool level. Again, we've just been using this word a lot because it fits such a cinematic end to a very cinematic 2D Sonic game. And it's like, man, they absolutely, knowing now, like the development troubles and having to split this in, it's like, it really makes sense that they were like, this is the biggest thing we've ever done. And it feels like that.
Yeah, it may not have a big show-stealing Dreams Come True's track at the end, like Sonic 2 did, but this stands up on its own as being like, because this is like, it is a gauntlet, especially if you're playing with all the emeralds, and you get this after that already climactic final boss.
For real.
I love it, though. It's not like, it doesn't feel drawn out to me. It's stressful, it's tough, but maybe it's because I've played it so many times to the point where I'm just like, I can do this, like, without thinking too hard. But I just love this. I love this last bit.
This was definitely the easiest I've ever had it in this boss. Usually, like, it takes me a couple tries, but I beat it on my first this time.
Nice.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm just, getting better in my old age.
This man was gaming.
You got good.
I got good.
I think I did get a ring out the first time just because I had to remember the pattern of the missiles and like what's the best way, and which I mean is always kind of cool to see, like, oops, your rings run out and Sonic just drops. he depowers and just drops. But yeah, it's very cool. It takes a little practice, but yeah, especially like when you can do it flawlessly, like, you just imagine the Super Sonic doing the anime teleporting around the missiles and sending them right back. And oh man, it's just very cool. And then you get some really cool end credits.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, there are so many different music options for the end credits throughout re-releases. I don't actually remember like which one is the vanilla one.
It's just Sky Sanctuary at that point. Like,
okay,
for the longest time, it was just play Sky Sanctuary again, because I guess that's kind of like the theme of being up in the sky. I guess. I know like various other versions, including Origins, would use like the Sonic 3 credits music or the original Sonic 3 credits music in Sonic Origins. But of course, we would get the Stranger in Moscow version and just about, every other fan version of this. What a scene! Like Sonic, the tornado appears to catch Sonic, like as Tails always does, and we'll have a special little suction cup thing poking out, designed specifically for grabbing the Master Emerald, which I love seeing every time. Then you fly back to the floating island, you drop off the Master Emerald, and it splashes and goes back to flying again, and Knuckles, like, sort of like, he comes out to sort of like look at you with begrudging respect, I guess.
Yes, that's what I would look at.
While doing a little bit of a Michael Jackson lean.
Yeah, he does.
It's either that, or he's just like, yeah, piss off already.
Yeah.
That's why he was doing that little shoo, go away animation.
Good old Knucklehead. He's got a heart of gold deep down in there.
Then you fly off. Do dolphins pop out the ocean, or am I imagining that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. For some reason, I was just like imagining dolphins. I was like, wait, am I conflating this with Super Mario World again? No.
It's dolphins and seagulls, I believe.
Yeah. Unusually,
it's Echo and his friend.
And you fly to the left, the opposite direction of which you were flying in the tornado in at the beginning of the game. Oh, it bookended.
It's like poetry; they rhyme.
And and
if you got all the emeralds, you get a cool transform and a nice Sonic illustration, and that's it.
Or is it?
Man, you know what? I haven't beaten this game without getting the emeralds in so long. I don't remember. I guess I'm just too good of a gamer to remember.
Yeah, for some reason I thought some re-release, it could have been Angel Island Revisited, has like, if you haven't beaten the game as Knuckles, like I thought it played the Egg Robo like, ooh, keep playing as Knuckles so you can see this guy, maybe.
I cannot be wrong about this. I love this game. I cannot be mistaken about what happens at the end. I tell you, you get it's more or less a teaser for Knuckles' story. If you don't get all the emeralds, there's actually no. That's That's weird. I think that's if you get like all the regular Chaos Emeralds.
But not
Yeah,
the
if you
Super
get it with-
Emeralds.
If you don't get all the Super Emeralds, there's the Egg Robo rising from the wreckage. Oh, that is interesting.
Almost implying that, like, it's Knuckles' destiny to collect the Super Emeralds instead. I just know you also get the super cool Sonic 3 and Knuckles logo with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all hanging out. And Amy, if it's Origins, she pops up like, hey,
I saw
I'm
that. I was
here.
like, oh, she's now in it. And she's in, like, yeah, so when you beat the game, by the way, the Data Select has a really cool image, if you've got all the emeralds as well, of all the characters together, and now Origins adds Amy to that little ring of characters poking out.
It's just real nice. She just fits right in. It's,
Girl power.
Yep.
Good for her.
All right, so that's Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But it isn't.
Oh, it's not?
Well, it is, but there's
Well,
more.
I mean, yes. More to talk about anyway.
That's true. Okay, so that's the game. Love it. Wonderful. Lovely. Only other things to talk about? Well, we already talked about Knuckles' playthrough. Great. Cool. That's cool.
It's a little bit like you said. It's a little bit harder. The layouts are different because Knuckles has his own unique paths, and there are some more enemies, and it's just kind of inherently harder because I think we already said Knuckles, poor guy, cannot jump like our other heroes.
Yeah, but he's been nerfed in that way because he was just too awesome.
Yeah,
as far as I was concerned, that's the and Knuckles portion of it. Or is it? Yeah, I guess so. Because, as we know, we've already talked about the fact that you can shove Sonic 2 in here and you get to play as Knuckles in that, and it's great because Knuckles is great.
Yep.
And there's also Blue Spheres.
Yeah, you can play infinite blue spheres forever and die eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you just shove whatever game you want in there, like, and the serial number will generate a level, which I thought there's one Blue Spheres level, so yeah, you could just pull out any game from your Mega Drive collection, slam it on top of Sonic and Knuckles to get one bespoke Blue Spheres stage, if you like. If you want the Golden Axe Blue Spheres or the Streets of Rage Blue Spheres.
I'm pretty sure as a kid, the first time I tried that, somewhere deep in my brain, I thought, what if I put Disney's Aladdin and it lets me play as Knuckles the Echid? And of course, that does not happen.
Aladdin and Knuckles.
Tragically. And of course, you can't put Sonic 1. Well, you can put Sonic 1 in there. It won't actually have Knuckles in Sonic 1. They weren't able to get it to work. Fans did later on, and of course, it would be a part of the thing. But of course, that is where you get the most possible permutations of Blue Spheres. I keep forgetting that you don't get it right away. You need to put in a special code to actually unlock that, because otherwise you have this little warning screen with 4 other characters being like, no way, no way,
I mean,
no way, no way.
the code is just push A.
Yeah, it's a very complicated code.
I want to see the Booger Man Blue Spheres level.
Oh yeah. Well,
I feel like I pitched all of these weird games locked onto Sonic and Knuckles as a short years ago, and it never got made.
Oh,
oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Booger Man and Knuckles.
Maybe someday.
What if you put Alex Kidd in there? I'm sure he would crawl out of your Mega Drive and try to murder you.
Creepypasta.
Took everything from me.
And you leave me with Knuckles?
I feel like we have played lip service to the music. Like, yes, I think every even casual Sonic fan on the planet knows the Michael Jackson collection and our connection. And yeah, one thing I didn't realize was how involved like Howard Drossen, who was the the composer for several Sonic games. I think the most known for is Sonic Spinball. But yes, did a bunch of tracks on here, and yeah, that the music was completely different in the Sonic and Knuckles collection on PC, because not only are they it's all in MIDI form, playing in your computer's, built-in MIDI device. But yeah, the alternate music for what is it? It's Launch Base, it's Ice Cap, it's Carnival Night, and
the credits music, I think.
Yes, the credits music. Turns out when we had a beta of Sonic 3, was discovered and dumped that, oh, those were the original compositions before, like, assuming before, like, the Michael Jackson deal. And that's what we end up in the Sonic Origins version, is slightly different versions of those. And, like we said, we want to get more into depth on that in an episode all just dedicated all to that music and maybe some of the coolest remixes out there.
Anyway, that, by the way, that prototype, just to mention that came out like a few years ago. It's probably been more years than I remember it being. But that prototype from November 3rd, 1993, before the release of the game, is really fascinating if you want to check it out, because there's a lot of stuff in it that was the kind of stuff I recognized from magazine screenshots. Like there's the grass in the background of like Hydra City Zone, and it's like this little surf up on Angel Island.
Yeah,
like he surfs in, like this little cutscene of him like surfing in, and then he meets Knuckles, and Knuckles is just kind of standing there, and he's just like pointing down, like, "Give me the emeralds or die. I don't love you." It's weird.
Sonic,
he runs
he's
off.
sexy and smooth. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, to some people.
Yeah. The craziest thing on here is there's kind of an early version of the drop dash in that. I don't think I've ever seen that, and that is super cool.
Yeah, it kind of works like it. I should have really given that ROM a bit of a play before this to really confirm, but it's just what a weird coincidence they had something that was like the drop dash in the game before it was released. And I'm pretty sure Christian Whitehead has acknowledged it and was like, "Yeah, just a funny coincidence, guys." Wink.
Yep. Yeah, I know we know from like prototype versions, not this specific one, I think it was known before, but where, I've been mentioning it the whole time that Flying Battery was originally supposed to take place after Carnival Night, before Ice Cap, and that Mushroom Hill Zone was also called Mushroom Valley Zone before. Just fun little bits of trivia there.
Yep, and if you go into like the debug mode level select thing, you can find early versions of those levels, which are, well, at least a Flying Battery that's super not complete.
Yeah.
But they're there, but you can sort of see why they weren't ready in time for the release.
I think we've also touched on like the other versions. We mentioned the Sonic and Knuckles collection featuring Sonic the Screensaver and sometimes Garfield.
That's the real version.
Comes from.
Sonic and Knuckles and Garfield, if you want to go for that. Oh god, they should have had a version where Garfield would be playable in it, though. Imagine
Hyper Garfield.
Oh, that's gotta be a ROM hack somebody's come up with. We've mentioned Sonic Origins, which, hey, we have dedicated many hours talking about how we feel about that version, to where it's pretty good now.
It's pretty alright. I played it through again and it was okay. I just died a bit more.
Yeah. Yep. The old retro engine likes to crush you. But yeah, there are some differences in that version that, hey, what are you gonna do? And like we said, some arbitrary like music choices, but I think on the whole, it's very, very much deserves to be up there with the other retro engine ports. And I've talked about Sonic 3 Complete, which is the version I replayed, which is the predecessor to Sonic 3 Air, Angel Island Revisited, which is probably still, unless you're just going to mod the Origins version, Sonic 3 Air is probably like the version to replay on your computer if you're going to do it.
Because Sonic 3 Complete is on the extra legal side of things, because it is just a ROM hack of the original game. Whereas, and by the way, Sonic 3 Complete is great though if you want like lots of little cool things. But if you want to be somewhat legal and you still happen to have a copy of the official Steam ROM of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, like I do for the Sega Ultimate Mega Drive Collection, or Sonic's Genesis Collection, something, whatever, the full ass name that goes on forever. Sonic 3 Air is like, it will take that ROM and modify it to make a fancy new fan-made widescreen version of the game, which is really good and has like achievements and unlockables and stuff. So that's pretty much it. The most ideal version of playing it that isn't Origins.
I did check the unlockables. It's It's most of the stuff you'd expect. It's drop down, it's Knuckles and Tails mode, debug, blue sphere, super peel out, the Sonic and Knuckles title screen instead of Sonic 3, stuff like that.
I think it was also the first time I was able to play blue spheres in 60 frames per second. I think that was one of the big ones in Sonic 3 Air.
Good old Sonic fans making great stuff for free, and now you cannot buy that ROM because of Origins. Oh well.
Que sera, sera.
But that's it. We have covered, to the best of our ability, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, my favourite Sonic game, one of my all-time favourite games of all the times. I mean, because honestly, lots of fans do consider it the best classic Sonic game. I'm not going to... I know that everyone has different opinions here, that's fine. I do remember... Wasn't it at the top of that fan poll that came out not too long ago that Hype Guy did?
I think so. I don't remember if I ever saw the end of that, because I was too mad at everyone voting for, like, Sonic Unleashed and Sonic 06, and I'm like, y'all are all 14 years old. I cannot
Sonic
be bothered
CD
with
did not
this.
make it on the list, and I'm like, what are you doing, you monsters?
Come on. Old man yelling at these newfangled kids.
Regardless of, like, where it stands on the actual fan reception thing, although it's still pretty good, how do we feel it measures up to everything that came since?
I'm gonna end this episode with another controversial opinion. It's still really good. I like it.
Whoa.
Whoa, hang on.
Whoa.
Hang on, you didn't call it the best thing ever. What's wrong
Cancelled.
with you? Nah.
I'm opening my intestines up for my honor.
I sincerely wish that I just, before recording this, had more time to really go into Sonic 3. And part of it is because I feel like I just didn't get to bring enough to this episode because of that. But that being said, as we've been recording this, I just have fond memories flashing back to me of like popping it into like the PC disc tray and mostly playing Mushroom Hill over and over again. but just like as an adult, really appreciating the truly gigantic scope of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, both as separate games and then, of course, as one conglomerate mega game. And again, as an adult, I can really appreciate also, I feel like the legitimate outcry from a lot of the Sonic fan community wishing for something that is on as epic a scale as this game. And I in some ways, I kind of feel like Sonic Frontiers not necessarily matches, but like sort of spiritually matches it in like different kind of grand standing epic feats of wonder and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yes, exactly. It matches it in tone and like the gravitas of like, especially the story and Frontiers. Like it's kind of the again, not to overuse the word cinematic, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
I see what you're saying, but there are going to be so many people who are like, you dare put Frontiers neck and neck with the god that is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. How could you?
Okay, Dave.
I'm just like, I get
to them, I will say, you're entitled to your opinion, my friends, but please go outside, smell some fresh air, get a chili dog, and just take a breath.
No, I'm playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles for the 50th time this week.
No, I mean, not to play devil's advocate, I'm not really, but yeah, I definitely see on the other side, like they kind of haven't done something this big, like even 2D, like Mania is the only thing that comes close, and Mania is a celebration of classic Sonic as a whole, and you revisit a lot of ones, and like that's the best part of playing Superstars to me is when it does feel like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But I said it earlier in the episode that replaying all the bosses in Sonic 3 and Knuckles makes me really wish that Superstars had taken more inspiration from their bosses. But yeah, they kind of still haven't. And, it's not like the Sonic franchise seems very much like it's only till recently, I'd say the last decade, that they're like, hey, maybe we don't have to reinvent the wheel that is Sonic every single time, and we can just do some, we can take what works and expand upon it.
It does feel like many times when they try to emulate what they did here, it doesn't always work out. Like Sonic tends to work his best when they trying to make a game stand out on its own while like doing certain nods to these kind of things. Like Sonic Adventure 2 was great because it's a game in and of itself, a story in and of itself that just happens to have a few things in common with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and it ends up in space and you do a Super Sonic and it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still a Sonic 2 guy at my heart, but Sonic 3 and Knuckles does so many things right and leaves such an impact that, it's hard not to argue that it is in that upper echelon of the series.
Yeah, I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles might be the only classic Sonic game that I wish I could erase all of my memories of and experience for the first time again. Like, I get so much out of the other classic games because I've played these so many times, and I can zip through them, and especially games like Sonic CD that really do take you really need to build up your skill level. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the one I wish I could play for the first time again for sure.
My biggest gripe with Sonic 3, I think, is that the difficulty between stages really is pretty uneven. Like, it starts out, relatively smooth, and then it spikes up around Marble Garden, and then it comes back down, then it spikes up again, then it's kind of up and down for the rest of the game. And I wish it was, a more gradual difficulty curve there.
A part of me kind of almost wishes there was a version of Sonic 3 and Knuckles that excises Marble Garden and Sandopolis, and that would be perfect.
Yeah.
But,
and it would still be a huge game, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You take the good with the bad, or more in actuality, you take the frickin' amazing with the kind of really frustrating. That's about it.
The just okay.
But yeah, a lot of this stuff did get carried over. This really helped set the scene for what Sonic games would be. We've talked about the kind of things that would inspire in Sonic. The Death Egg itself is even though the Death Egg is technically a Sonic 2 thing, I think it really became its own thing in this game, something that people remember because it's right there at the beginning of Sonic and Knuckles descending from the heavens. And and that would be the inspiration for stuff like the Space Colony arc. So and I feel and if you play, and we talked about Sonic Adventure to death, but there is so much of Sonic 3 and Knuckles in Sonic Adventure if you look at just the story and the layout and everything, even down to having the different character playthroughs that are slightly differed from each other. This is kind of this is what sets the tone for Sonic in the future if you just ignore everything they did in 3D and whatnot. Because because 3D is its own thing. We like 3D here, by the way, but it isn't on the same sort of scale as the Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The actual continuation to this is Sonic Adventure, and you can see that.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good game. People should play it. If you haven't, play it. There's lots of different options for you.
It may not be 100% it's as it was on the Mega Drive, but hey, that game was in flux anyway, because there are 3 different ways of playing it if you count Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, so whatever works for you. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is really great. I'm sorry, I just have to be the one to say, I just love this game. I don't have anything else of particular value to say. I just wanted to be the one to say Sonic 3 and Knuckles will live in our hearts forevermore. What an absolute wonderful game. I'm just so glad that it exists, and I am not well because of it. So thank you, Sonic and Knuckles. On our 50th episode, I get to just say this game is really good and cool for about 4 hours and pretend that is good content for other people to listen to.
Taking his shirt off.
Hey.
Okay, STC is the main reason I'm a Sonic fan, if I'm being honest with you. The games are a big part of it too, but STC is the reason I stuck to it. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles forms my basis of what Sonic should be. It's not like that for everyone, but for me in particular, and for a lot of British people apparently, and partly because of the comic that came along with it, this is Sonic to me, and not that all the other Sonic isn't great, not that everything that came after isn't iconic and great and stands out to me too, but yeah, this is Sonic to me, and Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
And Garfield.
Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles. Well, I hope you have enjoyed our just another very positive, just gushing episode explaining why we love Sonic games. You can find us around the internet under usually under Sonic F Series. That's where you'll find us on YouTube. That's probably where you're listening to this. You can find me around the internet at Game Buddy. Usually just that name, sometimes with a 1, 2, 3, but hey, if you stumble across a Game Buddy, it's probably me. You'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that I'm in the order. It's right there, right in front of me. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder who that's for. And I, the biggest Sonic 3 and Knuckles fan in this call, I'm Falero. You can find me all across the internet at FAULERRO.
What a super jingle. I am Rock the Jake, and you can find me as such on different websites such as Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and all that. And you can find me on Twitch, where I haven't streamed in a very long time, as Mr. Rock the Jake.
And of course, you can find me on various social media platforms at Cyberlink420.
And a super special hyper thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp, and she's got a lot of new stuff coming out these days, so be sure to pick some up, especially if it's a Bandcamp Friday, so she gets all of that delicious, horrible, capitalistic money. But hey... always remember, please remember to subscribe, review, share the show. That really helps get it out there. And hey, we're going into our third year of the show. Wow. Okay.
Yes, we are.
All right.
And so just reminding you to get it out there, and that helps us just our audience grow, and it provides more opportunities and incentive for us to do bigger and greater projects like the comic videos we've been making. And man, we want to do some big stuff. So knowing people are watching, listening is really encouraging. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
We may be on number 50, but we are not in our end game just yet.
No.
So be sure to keep sticking around.
Yeah, and if you're going to stick around in the immediate future, look, guys, I know we've been reading your comments and listening to your feedback. We know that you have been waiting for us to talk about a certain show. You know, I would argue it is maybe the reason that a lot of people are listening to us specifically do this podcast. So we are finally going to relent and talk about the one show that we have not really discussed in depth, Sonic Underground. That's the one that people want, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone loves Sonic Underground.
Y'all like Knuckles, right? He's in this one.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, by the way. We're talking about Knuckles in Sonic Underground. The only reason some people probably watched Sonic Underground for that one time Knuckles was in it. I think he was in it a few times, but we're talking about the time he first showed up. Oh, it's Knuckles! We just talked about him ages in this episode, and we're going to talk about him again. I love Knuckles. I hope he's good in this one.
Well, he's there.
Yeah. Anyway, until then, I am Game Buddy.
I'm Falero.
I am Rock the Jake.
I forgot what quote I was going to pick. Because it's been a couple of days. And I'm Cyberlink, and for the first time in my life, I am considering wearing pants.
Well, I know I wasn't when I played this game.
Well, on that note, this has been The Hill is Always Greener, and we'll see you on the other side. And Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
Knuckles. And Amy. And Knuckles.
But mostly Knuckles.